Nobody expected this news. Pastor Gino Jennings, a controversial pastor known for his stringent biblical views, is confronting a personal crisis that could topple his ministry. His wife filed for divorce. But that's not surprising. She's revealing things that could transform everyone's view of him. Allegations of control, financial scandals, and deeper secrets are emerging. Is Gino Jennings' religious leadership over? Please stay with me because what we're going to unveil will shock you. Gino Jennings is known for his bold preaching, calling out wrongs in the church and society. His strong biblical attitude has won him a large following, but others call him radical and provocative. His sermons are now being overshadowed by his personal life. His wife, who has kept a low profile, filed for divorce and made claims that could damage his reputation. What went wrong in their marriage? What offenses does she accuse him of? Most significantly, how will this affect Gino Jennings' ministry and religious leadership? This video will cover everything from the initial filing to the surprising revelations she is revealing. Before we begin, please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to stay updated on breaking stories like this. Let's get specific. Gino Jennings has preached against divorce and defended marriage for years. His sermons have stressed that marriage should weather the worst storms and that separation is rarely warranted. His teachings are now being questioned at their core. He wants to divorce his wife, not just any church member. Many were surprised when Sister Darlene Jennings discreetly filed for divorce. The religious community was shaken by a legal file without any public statement or marital difficulties. Here, things get worse. Not only is Darlene Jennings leaving her marriage, Gino's actions contradict his decades-long preaching, she says. Financial wrongdoing, manipulation, and concealed personal scandals have been reported. So, what caused this? Why would a longtime Gino supporter reveal him? The tale unravels here. I promise what you'll hear will stun you. Darlene Jennings stood silently beside her husband as he railed against world sins for years. Suppose the man accusing others conceals his own secrets. The plot takes an unexpected turn here. Darlene was finding troubling realities about Gino's personal and financial activities, which challenged her faith in the guy she once swore to stand by forever, according to Jennings' family sources. She initially ignored her uneasy intuition that something was wrong. She trusted her husband's leadership for decades, believing his words were righteous. One day, she found something she couldn't ignore. Some accounts say Gino's ministry's financial issues were the first red sign. Darlene allegedly discovered significant sums of money being transferred into secret accounts, unexpected withdrawals, and excessive personal expenses that contradicted Gino's simple lifestyle. His congregation was encouraged to give generously, even sacrificing their own financial stability for the church. But there were whispers of wealth hoarding, luxury purchases, and money going to non-Christian causes. The shocking part is this. This went beyond money. Darlene discovered more than financial mismanagement. She also discovered troubling church wrongdoing, according to witnesses. These claims included spiritual manipulation and controlling behavior behind closed doors, where members were required to obey without inquiry for fear of condemnation if they questioned the leader. Could this be why Darlene left? She left after years of silence, caught between devotion to her husband and the harsh truth of what she had. Her departure wasn't final. She prepared to share the truth about the man she previously stood by years ago. The craziest part? Darlene was reportedly instructed not to speak out, but she fought back. What followed? How did Gino Jennings handle his wife's stunning decision? Stay with me, the next revelation will stun you. Darlene Jennings' divorce and plans to reveal Gino Jennings' scandalous ministry were met with fast and furious criticism. This scandal might topple a leader who had preached discipline, obedience, and unshakable commitment for years. But now it gets fascinating. Gino wouldn't let this tale get out of hand. When rumors circulated, the church's inner circle went into damage control. Official denials first. Gino's sources said he rejected the claims as malicious lies meant to harm God's mission. He said that extraneous influences had misled his wife and that she was having a spiritual crisis. Here's the crazy bit. He continued. Church leaders and loyalists were told to defend Gino at all costs. Some churchgoers claimed that Darlene was being used by the devil to bring down the church. Others claimed she was influenced by disgruntled ex-members who had long slandered Gino's ministry. The sermon followed. Gino addressed the scandal in front of his congregation days after the news broke. Instead of admitting guilt, he adopted a shockingly different strategy. In a furious lecture, Gino discussed Jezebel's spirits, rebellious women, and the risks of opposing God's anointed. He clearly meant Darlene, even though he never named her. He cautioned the congregation that the devil works mysteriously through our loved ones. He called the situation a test of faith and urged his supporters to stay strong and avoid gossip and false accusations. This is even more startling. Not everyone in the assembly believed it. The church split for the first time in years. Many loyalists supported their pastor, but others questioned the narrative. Why would Darlene, a decades-long silent woman, make these claims? Why abandon her life if she wasn't sure of the truth she found? The biggest surprise came next. Years-old church alums began speaking up. One by one, churchgoers shared their stories. The setting was controlled, secretive, and frightening. Some claimed to have seen Darlene's money shenanigans firsthand. Anonymous former member: "I left that church because I observed things that didn't feel right with me. I was too terrified to speak up. Since Darlene came forward, I think the truth should be told." Another bombshell dropped when things couldn't get worse. Legal action. People close to Darlene said she wasn't only gathering proof for closure. She planned legal action against her husband and church. She allegedly discussed financial fraud, church fund misuse, and other crimes with attorneys. Gino panicked then. He was frantic behind the scenes. There were rumors of hush money, attempts to quiet former members, and church gatherings to deliberate how to handle the matter. The craziest part is this. This was no longer a private scandal. The media had heard the news by then. Journalists investigated to confirm the claims. Press pressure was rising, as news outlets sought statements from both sides. Gino faced his greatest career challenge. Would he be able to hide this controversy and keep church control? Did this start his downfall? Stay with me, because Darlene makes a surprising move next. She spoke up when it seemed the situation couldn't get worse. She stood behind Gino Jennings for decades as a calm, faithful wife, never challenging, never questioning, never breaking line. Now she was speaking out without restraint. The way she did it, never before seen. Darlene didn't make a quiet remark or file her divorce papers privately. She disclosed. She interviewed a famous journalist who had covered megachurch problems and corruption in an exclusive tell-all interview. The interview was held in a restricted area with legal representation. But what she disclosed stunned the audience when the cameras started rolling. She explained her decision to leave softly, but strongly. "For years, I believed I was obeying God's will. As a wife, I had to keep silent, endure pain, and tolerate wrongdoing. But then I realized God does not require fear." Then she dug deeper. Financial deception, manipulation, emotional, and spiritual abuse. It was organized by her. Darlene stated she had witnessed Gino Jennings scam his way to money for years. She said that church funds for community outreach and charity were diverted to private accounts, luxury expenses, and secret investments. She said, crying, that people contribute their hard-earned money thinking they're helping God. "I witnessed where that money went firsthand. It broke me. This is even more startling. She was received. She presented documents, transaction records, and secret emails that supposedly showed fund misappropriation in the interview. She said she had been threatened and pressured to stay silent for years, fearing God's wrath. It wasn't the most shocking revelation. Darlene then dropped the biggest shock. She disclosed Gino Jennings' deepest secrets, secrets that shattered his decades-long persona. Her voice was steady as she said, "I knew stuff. Even to myself, I was frightened to admit them. About his character and past. After accepting the facts, I knew I had to leave." Does she suggest adultery, clandestine relationships, or severe crimes? She promised legal action, but didn't elaborate. By the end of the interview, everyone was stunned. It wasn't just a bitter ex-wife making vague charges. She had witnessed everything inside power. She was determined to defeat him today. This is the unexpected part. Her alarming statements were disbelieved by some. Gino Jennings fans immediately defended him. Darlene was dubbed a liar, traitor, and a devil-used woman who brought down a good man of God. They pilloried her on social media as spiteful and deceptive. Some said foreign forces bribed her to destroy the church. Others weren't convinced. Since some blindly defended Gino, others asked questions. Why go to court if Darlene lied? Why did she have proof? Why would she ruin her reputation if she lied? Another twist occurred when it seemed things couldn't be any more dramatic. A former church official connected to Gino for years testified. What they revealed might change everything. Keep reading to learn about the church-shaking testimony and why Gino Jennings may not escape this time. Gino Jennings felt the walls closing in at this point. Darlene's bombshell admissions had already shattered his life. But what happened next made it a crisis. A former high-ranking church official who worked with Gino for years stepped up. He was no average member. One of Jennings' closest confidants, he was crucial to church operations. He was silent for years. Despite feeling uneasy, he had seen everything with Gino, but now he couldn't keep quiet. In a brave move, he gave an exclusive interview, divulging church secrets no one else was meant to know. This is even more startling. This insider, Brother Nathan, Darlene was honest. I saw the numbers. I saw the deals. Only Gino and a handful had access to some accounts. One of them was me. He breathed deeply and unleashed the big bombshell. The people never received the promised money. It was for Gino. For lifestyle, travel, and profit. That wasn't vague talk. In bank statements and internal memos, he found large amounts of money flowing through secret routes as church costs. He indicated that church funds were sometimes invested in Jennings' private enterprises. But it gets darker here. Brother Nathan said Gino Jennings intimidated people to control them. Doubting anything was rebelling against God. Raising concerns made you a church enemy. If you considered leaving, you were warned. Those who lie suffer. The scariest part? Nathan said several people tried to leave but were hushed. Some were publicly shamed in church. Others faced litigation. Nathan claimed that one former member lost their job, home, and reputation after quitting. Nathan explained that if you're afraid to leave, they can control you forever. Money was no longer the focus. It involved power, control, and fear. Gino Jennings had nowhere to escape after Darlene and Brother Nathan revealed themselves. However, the twist is here. After the incident broke out online and in the media, Jennings responded. His words made things worse. He doubled down rather than admitting the claims. Jennings denounced everything in a heated live sermon. The devil lies, he preached. Satan uses these people to destroy God's work. I fear no one, man, woman, or government. The Lord supports me. He told his congregation that Darlene had been duped and was being used by the enemy to ruin a righteous man. Brother Nathan was then turned on. Judas is always there, he hissed. Betrayal is always internal. But let me explain. No weapon against me will succeed. The true issue? Even his most faithful adherents were apprehensive. Because while some naively defended him, others said, why not show the records if he's innocent? Why not be honest if he has nothing to hide? Why attack the outspoken instead of proving them wrong? When it seemed things couldn't get worse, the government intervened. Because law enforcement sources said they were investigating financial charges. A controversy would lead to prosecution for Gino Jennings if the evidence was there. But, most importantly, would his church support him? Was this his empire's last collapse? Check back for the consequences, legal threats, and whether Jennings' kingdom can weather this storm. Gino Jennings' dispute had grown beyond church gossip and online speculation. This dispute went beyond marriage, a full-scale legal crisis. After weeks of pressure, public outcry, and devastating accusations from his separated wife, Darlene, and former church insider Brother Nathan, authorities had to intervene. Their findings were troubling. According to leaked allegations, state and federal officials were investigating Jennings' finances. A person close to the probe said this goes beyond money mismanagement. Fraud, tax evasion, and money laundering are possibilities. And the essential evidence? Hidden finances. Investigators found bank transactions linked to offshore accounts that the church had never declared in its financial filings. One more thing. Large cash withdrawals under suspicious circumstances disguised charitable donations that led to private luxury possessions, and most astonishingly, a huge difference between stated church earnings and real incoming finances. Money was missing. Authorities wanted to know where it went. After the probe was announced, numerous former church members claimed they had been forced to give excessively, sometimes beyond their means. Some stated they signed agreements indicating they could never ask for their church donations back under any circumstances. Sound familiar? This strategy was used in past big religious finance scandals. Gino Jennings was now central. Instead of collaborating with authorities, he made things worse. Jennings attacked the probe, alleging he was persecuted for his faith. He slammed the government, media, and even his wife, in another fiery sermon webcast to thousands. Evil powers think they can defeat God's chosen. But let me tell you, not bowing to man, I bow only to God. But here's the issue. Even while his most committed followers clapped and yelled amen, the public didn't believe. Because despite his persuasive remarks, the facts were mounting against him. Next came the final blow. His church's administrative office was raided by federal agents. Computers seized, financial records were stolen. The walls Jennings had created around himself were crumbling. Was this enough to bring him down permanently? Although the legal case was strengthening, Jennings had one last card. The lesson from history was this: powerful men battle until the end. But would he weather the storm? Or did Gino Jennings' empire finally collapse? In the frightening last chapter, we learn about the aftermath, the shocking twist no one anticipated coming, and whether Jennings has one last trick. The Globe observed Gino Jennings' legal battle. This might bring down one of the most controversial pastors in history. Like so many before him, would he evade justice? Jennings was noted for his survival skills. His ministry was built on absolute control, undying commitment, and fearlessness for decades. However, his foundation was collapsing. No matter what he taught, how many furious sermons he shouted, or how much his followers defended him, the evidence was overwhelming. The end appeared nigh with the FBI probe closing in, a grand jury contemplating indictments, and his wife unwilling to back down. Jennings then did something shocking. He attacked instead of negotiating. He called a large rally with thousands of his most faithful fans in a desperate last stand. He stood before the gathering with determination, saying the enemy wanted me to collapse. They want this church demolished, but Hell's Gates won't prevail. And the crowd? In agreement, they roared. Because despite the claims, legal fights, and overwhelming proof, others believed in him. The shocking part is this. Secretly, something much worse was happening. Sources close to the investigation said Jennings secretly moved money, liquidated assets, and transferred funds offshore. It was too late when officials discovered it. Jennings disappeared days before his indictment. He fled to an undisclosed place to evade extradition, according to sources. Suddenly, he was gone. The preacher who condemned sinners and preached morality was now a fugitive, and his empire, it was wrecked. With the church under investigation, lawsuits mounting, and his credibility shattered, he was doomed. But the largest question remained. Gino Jennings, where, moreover, would he ever be punished? His escape may be temporary, but history catches up with guys like him. When it does, the fall always exceeds the climb. You think? Does Gino Jennings ever face justice? Or is this the end? Leave comments below. Like, subscribe, and set on notifications to keep up with stunning revelations. Because this story continues.